I can say with almost 100% confidence that you do not have an optimized strategy or portfolio for this bull run. And what that means is you're missing out on potentially millions of dollars. Now, of course, if your portfolio isn't going to be worth multi-millions, then maybe you're missing out on tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. But the idea remains the same. You need to optimize this now while the market isn't looking extremely crazy. And in this video, I'm going to give you 3 tips to allow you to do this in a very quick but easy fashion as well. Now look, before we start, guys, if you do find yourself enjoying today's video, you can do me a massive favor by dropping down there right now and hitting the like button, because my job, my number one job here, is to make sure you make money this bull run in the safest way possible. So of course, hit that subscribe button as well to be on that journey with us through this bull run and the subsequent ones as well, so you can make sure you make the most of it. Now, this first one here might actually be the most important out of all 3 tips, but again, it does depend on where you're at. Now, this first one doesn't look at how to optimize a particular thing or how to teach you something strategically. It's to have a look at what is next. What is going to happen in the coming cycle? Now, before you go, oh, this seems boring, let me skip to the next one. I want to tell you why this is important. A lot of people are skeptical and ignoring the fact that we might be in a lengthening cycle, which actually means that the cycle is still continuing from way back in the lows of like 2020, 2019, maybe even after the 2018 cycle. Okay, we could be still in a massive longer cycle, which ultimately means that the top can come sooner, okay, rather than later. The lengthening cycle theory again plays out. Technically, it's going to be a shorter cycle than a longer one, but hopefully that makes sense. And why this is important is because you have to be prepared for it. I've done an interview with the guy who proposed this theory himself. This also falls in line with what's called the left translating cycle theory as well. There is a lot of things to say for this particular thing, which ultimately means that the cycle very well could end this year, basically September, October, November of this year, maybe even early next year, January, February. But either way, it might shock people in terms of how fast we might actually have a blow off top and then come crashing back down again. And a matter of fact, a lot of people who also disagree with this theory do believe that this time we're likely to have a blow off top moment, similar to the 2013, similar to the 2018 cycles, where we had that massive blow off top and pretty much the prices all came down, opposed to this sort of double top that we had in the last cycle, thanks to the likes of COVID and all the rest of it, okay? But basically, the reason this is still a valid theory is because it all is based mainly around Elliott wave theory and a few other things as well, in which we have an impulsive move, right? We have pretty much from the lows down here back in 2019, 2018, right up to the last cycle. And actually, this was supposed to be, apparently, according to this theory, sort of like a blow-off top moment back over here in about 2023, but we were pushed down quite early due to the fact of we had Celsius, we had FTX, we had the banking crisis in the US, we had a whole bunch of things preventing us from actually making that happen. But what I point out in this chart here, and what I do go over again in this video, I'll leave the link for it down below, is that we are still actually valid right now. We haven't fallen beneath that first impulse move, so therefore we basically still technically have this theory attributing to what might actually happen, okay? So do not discredit it, whatever you do. Again, basically, we could still be in a longer cycle, as you can see outlined here. This is all one big move. And this actually makes sense if you have a look at something like this chart here from Glassnode, where we can actually see every cycle actually having diminishing returns and is going to be longer, right? From trough down here to the peak. It gets longer and it gets less intense. And the only reason that the previous cycle, this sort of green line over here, actually fell in directly in line with the 2018 cycle was, again, simply because we had all of that massive aggregation of that horrible news happen at once, which pretty much forced us, according to this theory, into an early bear market, whereas technically speaking, we were probably supposed to end up over here somewhere, and the next cycle theoretically play out, in which we'd be in right now, probably ending up maybe 2030 somewhere. So that would actually make sense as a pattern. But again, there is 2 sides to every story. Everyone interprets charts differently depending on how you look at it, okay? Depends on the lens you look things through, right? So we can also look at this and go, well, okay, well, maybe the first 2 cycles, of course, there was a lot less money in the market, therefore it was much easier for the market to pump up rapidly, therefore the blow-off top moments came sooner, earlier, whatever, and the last 2 cycles are more in line with what's going to happen next, and therefore we can, based on this theory here, say that, well, okay, October, November next year, so 2025, is likely to be, roughly speaking, the end date. And a lot of information supports this theory, not just this, of course. I've, spoken extensively about some of the other reasons that might actually make that sort of time frame, like Q3, Q4 of next year, sort of like the end of the bull run. But again, who knows, all right? Like I say down here, everyone will have a theory, okay? And there will be one person or multiple people based on a theory that are correct. They will tell you, this was obvious, right? Follow me, but no one really truly knows. So all you can do is be prepared for the worst, and that is tip number 1. Be prepared for the cycle to possibly end sometime the Q4 of this year, possibly, especially if the elections don't go as planned for crypto. I mean, I'm not going to get political here, of course, for crypto's sake, and that actually might really, truly force us into a bear market. I mean, who knows? And that's the premise of this. Be prepared. Don't lock your contract, don't lock your tokens up for 12 months and not have the possibility to unlock those tokens in earlier than 12 months, because that might put you in strife. So what is number 2? Well, it's DCA. Now, this was actually recommended to me by one of you guys. I put a poll out recently on the community tab, and someone said, Kyron, a lot of us don't know how to actually DCA in terms of when is a good time to DCA. So let's run through a very quick exercise here, because this is actually important. A lot of you are listening to let's just say ill-informed influencers like that just repeat other influencers, for example, not throwing shade at anyone here. And what they'll tell you to do is just continue to dollar cost average. Buy. If it's up, down, left, or right, just buy, okay? Now, yes, that's good. Time in the market beats timing the market. That's an age-old saying. But the problem here is that if you buy too high on average, you're going to bring up your multiples. You're going to reduce your multiples rather and bring up your average buy price, which means in this hypothetical example, right, let's say we're using Render. Render's current price being about $7.50, and let's say the max price, if we were to look back on Render in 3 years, go, oh, the max price was $100, all right? So, again, what we can bet on in this hypothetical example here is we want to sell at $90 because we actually want to have the target here of $100,000. That's our target, is to make $100,000 revenue. We should always have a revenue target per coin, guys. Very, very simple. That's the first thing you need to do. Forget price, have a target. Now, at $7.50, right, you might want to buy at this price, Render, to 12x. And to 12x at this price, obviously is $90, you would then get $100,000. So you might have invested about $8,000 or whatever into Render at this point. Well, here's the problem, right? If you begin to buy as the price moves up and you follow what everyone says and just dollar cost average, who cares? I buy every week no matter what, right? You buy again at $12 thinking, hey, I'm investing more. It's a good thing. The more I put in, the more I get out, okay? Well, what happens there is if you go 90 divided by 12, it's only a 7.5x at this point. You've pretty much lost about a 5x in terms of gains, at least from buying at this price. Now, again, you're eyeing off a certain target here. So forget about the price for a second. Forget about the 7.5x and the 5x reduction. What you're actually getting here at $90 is 80 grand. You've bought at $7.50, okay? You've bought at $12. You find the average of those two, and that might be, for example, $10, right? So you've reduced your multiples made, and in this case, again, your sell target of $90 now, you only get 80 grand. And a lot of you, based on my experience, will look at that and go, I'm at my target of $90, but I only have 80 grand. Okay, well, I need to get my 100 grand. That's my target, is the money in my account. Forget about the price. I want 100K, all right? So what you would do is pretty much hope for a level, all right? You may even reconfigure the price you sell at to be $105. And again, it might not hit that. You might just go yourself, oh, Render keeps going up. The market keeps going up. There's no stopping this. This is going to keep going. And what happens is you get over ambitious and you end up selling at a level it doesn't actually hit, okay? Again, you don't want to be doing that. It's very important to always analyze this beforehand now while we have somewhat clear sights rather than letting your greed take over. Let me clarify here, guys. When you dollar cost average, every time you dollar cost average, you need to do a configuration process like I will show you in a second here. You want to make sure you're tracking all this, and I'll show you a tool I personally use. But when you do it, again, don't buy, do a hypothetical buy, like do a fake purchase and see what it moves the average buy price up to. But if you move your average buy price up to a level in which now you're going to have to move your exit price up, like in that example, above $90, it's just not worth doing it. You're better off buying a coin that you can buy that won't move it up much. If not better, bring it down to increase your multiples if possible, okay? This is why it's crucial you manage your entry levels and dollar cost average when everyone is fearful, like right now. Can't stress it enough. If you're scared to buy right now, you don't deserve money, okay? Simple as that. Understandable, I get it. Like, oh, is crypto going to do well? Is it not? Well, again, this is why you have to do your own research to discern that yourself. But you want to also DCA carefully. Again, shout out to Remy for bringing this up as a question in the community. Now, this becomes a huge issue, especially when you are dealing with a larger portfolio, okay, for an end result. Now, again, in this example, let's say you invest $100,000 into Render at $7.50. Now, you look to 20x that, okay, you want to sell it $150 to make $2 million. Well, again, if you begin buying at $7.50, $12, $15, you just keep moving money into it. Or what happens is if your average buy price then is $12, which actually isn't that much more than $7.50-ish, that's now 12.5x, which means that you're going to miss $750K. But again, the bad thing here is that you may even try risking to make the $2 million back, not calculate what price it is. I'm just going to keep holding Render until my balance says $2 million, not knowing it's going to be $240, which is an unrealistic price. And then you end up following all the way down as it crashes. That's why I say always track with tools like CoinStats, which I personally use. CoinMarketCap will use CoinMarketCap as the example, and ensure you don't break up the different sell levels. Make sure you aggregate them to find a single average buy price. So what I find many people doing is every time they buy, they track each buy, and then they sell each individual buy zone at different levels. Guys, aggregate it. Find a single price. All right, I'll show you how this works in a second here. And then use that average sell price to then sell on the top side. Okay? Individual sell levels, you're just confusing things, and it's honestly pointless. It's adding so much extra work for very little, if not no gain at all. So again, go to CoinMarketCap. I use CoinStats. It's the same damn thing. Create a new portfolio. Click add transaction, right? In this case, we're using Render for the example. So you click Render, you put in how many tokens you bought at this level. So we put, $1,000 at $7.50, for example. Okay, add transaction. It's literally as easy as that. And then you have your portfolio, okay? Now, when you go to add a new transaction, so RNDR again, and then you go to invest again, so $1,000, right? Maybe you want to buy again at, so let's say you bought it at $12, right? You spent a bit more money. Add transaction, you will notice that if you actually go into your history here and have a look at the coin, and you see these two, buy levels here, you see your average buy price is now $9.70. So what I would recommend you guys do is before you actually execute a purchase, especially when the price is higher, click add transaction again, go through it. Let's say they have 1,000 tokens, and let's say the price is now $15, right? Add transaction and just see what your average buy price moves up to. At this point, go, okay, I'm looking to sell at $90. Can I make my money at $90 now? Is that going to be possible? Can I go 90 divided by $11.50? That might be, for example, a 9 or an 8.5x. Is it going to still be the same revenue on the top side? If so, cool. Go ahead and do it. If not, delete that buy. Okay, delete that massive buy here and find a new coin. All right. Make sure you put this work in. It's a little bit of work every day. It's fun though. Gamify your portfolio. Before the last step, if you're confused here, if you're like, Kyron, there's so much stuff I have to do and deal with, and then what's going to happen in the market? I want to know what's happening with Bitcoin, what's happening with Ethereum, and all the rest of it, right? It's very confusing stuff. Well, come and join our community, guys. The Vault, you'll see a link in the description to join up here. Even level 1 access is going to give you so many benefits. You'll never have to worry about anything else again. We have about 700 members in there right now. We have a team of people helping you every single time. And we've also made some pretty good calls in the market as well. Please go ahead and check it out. If you have the money to be able to spend in terms of benefiting your personal situation, this is definitely something you want to be considering. Now, the last one here is exit. Okay, this is actually 4 things under exit, and I'll be very quick here. So first is weighted average, second is initial investment, third is percentages, and fourth is staking. But albeit these 3 actually kind of all work together. Matter of fact, they almost all work together to benefit your exit. So what am I talking about here? Well, if you fail to spend the time considering these, good luck. And that's literally all I can say to you. Good luck. I've been there. I disregarded this. I can say for certainty, this is where most people go wrong. So let's use the example of weighted averages, right? Before with the example of Render, right? We're trying to sell at $90 at $7.50, which is whatever that works out to be, right? A 13, 14x or whatever. Well, what people forget is that you actually need to consider your average sell price from this. No one ever just holds for $90 okay, and then just lump sum sells at 90 bucks. Okay, it's not a good thing to do in my opinion, okay? Again, non-financial advice. What you want to do is sell multiple different times, represented here by these other lines, to have the average sell price of 90 bucks, just like you should work out the average for your buy price. Well, in this case, it's called the weighted average. This is, again, the average you sell. So to work it out, you take your total revenue, so you find all the different, how much money you were to make on all these different levels, revenue, and then you divide that by how many tokens you currently have. So let's say with Render Protocol, right, okay, you wanted to make $500,000, okay, that was the revenue that you worked out at each of these sell levels. Divide that by how many tokens, maybe you have 10,000 tokens, and that would give you your average sell price. Let's just hypothetically say that ends up being 90 bucks. Again, that makes sure that you know that yes, if I do all of these sell levels correctly, it's going to work out right. And again, to find what the price is at each sell level, it's very simple. All you have to do is whatever the price at that sell level is, and then you times that by the amount of tokens you sell at that level, and then do that for all the levels. It's very, very simple. I've got a few videos explaining this and how it all works, but this is definitely a very important thing you want to be considering, because a lot of influencers will tell you to just sell at different levels. They'll tell you to sell down here and sell up here, and maybe I'll use this one. Sell here and sell here and sell here. Sell it at 2x and sell it at 3x and sell it at 5x. Before you know it, your goal's up here. And then, you end up selling on an average way down here. And then you end up panicking, and then you end up holding your tokens for affinity. Likewise, the initial investment level is one a lot of people talk about as well. It's a very crucial level for beginners because it pretty much takes back all of your initial investment in the project, which means everything from there is not revenue, it is profit. It's all on the house, right? It's the market's making money for you, okay? So you can still do this, and I would recommend thinking about it. It's very, very good, okay? But in the same regard as well, you need to recalibrate your portfolio. In the same example, say we have all of our sell levels up here to have an average out at 90 bucks. Well, this purple line is the initial investment level. It's where you take back your initial investment, right? But we have to recalibrate the portfolio after this. So say you invested $10,000, right? And then you took back the $10,000 at this level, right? You might only have 8,000 tokens left. Well, the 8,000 tokens becomes your new portfolio, okay? So the initial investment doesn't act as an actual sell level itself. Detriment to this is that now you have 1,000 tokens less. So you aiming for $100,000 might not be on the cards anymore. And if you sell at $90, you may only be getting 85,000 because obviously you have 1,000 less tokens because you took out your initial investment. This can get you wrecked as well if you don't if you don't consider it. If you're then looking to, okay, well, where's my 100K? I might have to sell at $105. Again, might not actually come. And I'll talk about a way that you can actually prevent that from happening in the same scenario, okay? It's going to be the fourth one, which is staking. And lastly, the top three here, again, this one works hand in hand, is percentages, okay? So in the same respect, zooming back into the sell levels, people always forget about percentages. They think, okay, I'm just going to sell tokens split nice and evenly along like maybe 10 sell levels, 5 above, 5 lower. But you don't. Don't look at the number of sell levels. Look at the percentage of your portfolio you're selling on those levels, okay? So again, pretty much in most cases, in 99% of cases, I would say, it's going to be at least 50% or more of your portfolio being sold above the intended price, so above that here. About the same percent in the middle, meaning that probably around about 5 to 10% in the middle, like actually on the sell level itself, and around 50% or less below. So again, you pretty much have at bare minimum half of the portfolio above, and in this case, you pretty much have lower than 50% or highest 50% below. Well, take my actual example here with Near Protocol, okay? With Near Protocol, this is actually some of my sell levels, and if the goal here, the weighted average target is to sell at an average of $55, and I have 8 levels, you can see here that I actually have more sell levels lower, which is safer, less sell levels higher. I only have 3 sell levels above the actual intended target here of $55. Again, that's much safer. But I have 60% sold and only 30% sold up here, with only 10% actually sold at $55. So I have less sell levels higher at 60% and more sell levels lower at less. Okay, so it's represented here. You can see this is $55. Yellow is the percent of my portfolio sold. I have a lot more percentage sold up here at these levels than down here. Okay, and that's by design. One thing you don't want to do in this case is something like where you have more sell levels above the intended target here, okay? And even if you do put more percent on the lower side, it's far more risky doing this. Here's why. Again, same target, right? Here is why. If, for example, Near Protocol goes to a price of $64, right, you pretty much invalidate all of this. You pretty much get rid of 20% of your portfolio, okay? It doesn't go any higher than this by chance. What would you rather have? Would you rather have 20% of your portfolio locked up in here that never actually gets hit, Or would you rather have 20% of your portfolio added to one or multiple of these 3 levels beneath $64, okay? You'd much rather compound it on these top levels here where 60% is divided amongst 3 levels rather than having, 55% sold amongst 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 levels. Okay, so what I'm trying to say here is have less and more frequent, smaller jumps every single price above the actual price you intend to get out here. Again, $55 is our target. Whereas on the low side, you can pretty much have as many sell levels as you want because, again, the lower we go in terms of price, the actual safer it is. So it's the complete opposite. Again, more of your portfolio will have to be sold at these smaller levels because to bring up your weighted average, you just need to do that. And this is all done. This particular sheet here is all done in my exit portfolio tracker on the private community, all completely done for you. So in essence, the best way I can describe this is like having an anchor on a boat, okay? Pretty much you want to drop the anchor as low as possible and have barely anything above the waterline as boat is and where the money's being made, okay? So for example, if the waterline here is our intended sell price for Near Protocol or Render, whatever, at $90, you want to drop your sell levels here right as low as you possibly can, okay? Within reason, of course, not too low. And you can start with larger jumps between it and then the jumps can get more frequent and more frequent the closer you get to the actual sell price. And then anything above the intended sell price of $90, you can see I've only got 3 levels here. But in these 3 very, very condensed levels, you might have, again, 60% of the portfolio sold up here. This way, you're getting a majority of your portfolio out in a nice, safe way. And of course, the price doesn't have to go too much higher than your price target to achieve your goals. Now, if you had a whole bunch of these levels above here, right? And again, this maybe was all spread across 30% even, that 30% may never even happen. You're far better off going more condensed than you are spreading it out on the top side. On the bottom side, definitely spread that nice and thinly because it's safer. So guys, with that being said, these 3 tips should allow you to be a little bit more prepared for the bull run. Now, I'm going to assume most of you actually won't put this into practice, but I would like to hope at least some of you do. And again, this is something that pretty much is traditional investing stuff. It's not like crypto bro degen stuff where you would pretty much just YOLO it, throw it all in and hope for the best. Okay, there's a little bit of preparation involved here, but that's how people make money. 99, or I think maybe 98% of people lose money in crypto. So the stats are there for a reason, okay? Thank you all. Talk to you all soon. Take good care. Bye-bye.